In high purity systems, just one single bad connection can end up costing millions. It's a huge deal. So you've got to get it right every single time. That's why today we're going to dive deep and build the ultimate pro's guide to the pillar fitting system, so you know how to get that flawless, leak-proof, contamination-free seal.
So, what is the secret? I mean, it's the kind of question that keeps engineers and technicians up at night, especially in industries like semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, and chemicals. Because in their world, a connection isn't just a connection. No way. It's that one critical point where the entire process can either succeed or fail, sometimes catastrophically.
All right, here's the game plan for today. We're going to start by looking at what we're up against, the perfect seal challenge. Then we'll introduce Pillar's solution. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty, the anatomy of a connection, mastering that crucial sleeve insertion, and the art of tightening. And we'll wrap up with a look at the complete toolkit you'll need.
Okay, let's really set the stage here. We're talking about environments where the absolute slightest impurity can be a complete disaster. Think about manufacturing microchips where everything is on a nanoscale, or formulating life-saving drugs where purity is everything. The integrity of every single fluid line is, well, it's paramount.
And that right there is the heart of the problem. It's not about preventing a simple drip that you can see. It's about stopping invisible metal ions from leaching into a process fluid. It's about preventing a single microscopic particle from ruining a multi-million-dollar batch of product. The standard isn't just good enough. It has to be absolutely perfect. So how in the world do you achieve that level of perfection consistently? Well, that's where Pillar comes in. Their answer is a completely engineered ecosystem of fittings designed for exactly these high-stakes, high-purity environments.
Pillar really offers two main systems. On one hand, you've got the Super 300 type. This is the workhorse, built for max performance and reliability, and it can handle temperatures all the way up to 200 degrees Celsius. Then you have the Super Flare type. This one is engineered for simplicity and speed, making assembly at room temp a breeze, and it's rated for up to 100 degrees Celsius. Both are typically made from PFA, which is this amazing high-purity fluoropolymer known for its incredible chemical and heat resistance.
Now, that temperature difference, it's a total game changer. The Super 300 gives you literally double the operating range of the Super Flare, and that's an absolutely critical spec for those high-heat chemical processes. And that's exactly why, for the rest of this guide, we're going to be focusing in on the high-performance Super 300 system.
Okay, so if you want to build the perfect connection, you've got to know what you're working with, right? It just makes sense. So let's break down the Super 300 fitting, piece by glorious piece. Okay, let's take a look. You've got the main body of the fitting, the union nut, which gives you that all-important compressive force, the absolutely critical sealing sleeve, and then finally, the PFA tube itself, which is your fluid pathway. Each part is precision-engineered to work in perfect harmony.
Now, this little piece right here, the sleeve, this is the absolute heart of the Super 300's technology. It's not just some washer. No. This precision PFA component is physically pressed into the tube, which creates an incredibly robust primary seal. And on top of that, it also gives the connection immense mechanical strength, preventing that tube from pulling out under pressure. It's brilliant. And that brings us to maybe the most important part of this whole thing. Getting that sleeve inserted correctly is totally non-negotiable if you want a perfect seal. So let's walk through the official Pillar process step by step. It's really just a simple 4-step dance. First, you need a clean, perfect right-angle cut on the tube. Second, slide that union nut on, and please make sure it's facing the right way. Third, you lock the tube and the sleeve holder into one of Pillar's dedicated insertion tools, like the JT-A4. Finally, one smooth pull of the lever press fits the sleeve perfectly into the tube. That tool is what makes this process so reliable every single time. But you're not done yet. After you press it in, you've got to check your work. You need to confirm that the tube is seated right up against the sleeve's internal step. Now, it's totally normal to have a small gap here, but it has to be within tolerance. Like for a 6mm tube, you're looking for a gap of 1mm or less. This little precision check is your guarantee that you have a solid foundation for that perfect seal. All right, sleeves in place. Now for the grand finale, tightening it all up. And listen, this isn't about brute force. It's all about precision. Pillar has developed two fantastic error-proof methods to make sure you get the exact right amount of compression. For most of your sizes, we're talking 6mm up to 25mm tubes, you're going to use the super clever gauge ring method. But for the really tiny stuff, like 3 or 4 millimeter tubes where the fitting is just too small for a gauge ring, you'll switch over to the equally precise gap gauge method. 2 tools for 2 different scales, but both have one goal: perfection.
So here's how this cool little gadget works. As you tighten the nut, a small tab on its edge makes contact with the blade on the gauge ring. You'll feel and hear a distinct click. That's your signal for the initial tightening point. If you keep going, that tab hits the solid base of the ring, which provides a hard stop. It's an ingenious design that makes over-tightening nearly impossible. It's basically foolproof.
For those smaller fittings, you'll use the Pillar SSG gap gauge. It's a classic go-no-go tool. Super simple. You tighten the nut until the gap is small enough that the gray no-go side of the gauge won't fit, but it's still large enough that the red go side will fit. This is your guarantee that the connection is perfectly tightened right within that specified range.
Okay, so mastering one connection is awesome, but real-world systems have hundreds, right? So let's pull back and look at the whole ecosystem that Pillar provides to build out an entire high-purity fluid path.
And believe me, this is just a peek at the catalog. The system includes every single configuration you could possibly need. Straight unions, elbows, tees, reducers, adapters, you name it. Whatever your fluid path requires, there is a Super 300 fitting designed for the job.
And a true system isn't just about the parts, it's about having the right tools for every situation too. Pillar even offers specialized optional metal wrenches, designed specifically for those tight, hard-to-reach spaces where a standard wrench just isn't going to cut it. It's that level of attention to detail that really sets the system apart.
And of course, you can't have a world-class fitting without world-class tubing. Pillar's own Pilaflon PFA tubing is the other half of this perfect equation. We're talking incredible heat resistance, from cryogenic temperatures all the way up to 260 Celsius. It's virtually inert to almost all chemicals. It leaches 0 impurities, and its super smooth inner surface prevents anything from sticking to it. It's the perfect canvas for a perfect connection.
So there you have it. We've seen the challenge, the components, and the precise, repeatable process for creating a perfect seal. The tools and the technology are there, giving you the potential for perfection. The final step is just applying that knowledge with precision. Which really leaves us with just one question. How are you going to ensure every single connection in your system meets that standard of perfection? Thanks for joining me.